Air masses are bodies of air with relatively homogeneous physical properties, such as temperature or moisture content. They usually stretch more than 1,000 miles across, and they are several miles thick. When an air mass moves out of its region of origin, it will affect large portions of a continent. It may take several days for an air mass to traverse an area. The region under its influence will experience relatively constant weather conditions, also called air mass weather. Source regions in which air masses are born can only be extensive and physically uniform areas which are dominated by long-lasting steady conditions and calm or light winds. To have a uniform air mass in temperature and moisture, an air mass must stay in its source region for several days or weeks. Air masses are classified by 2 or 3 letters. The first letter refers to the humidity of the air mass and states whether it originated over an ocean or a land mass. M stands for wet or maritime air. C stands for dry or continental air. The second capital letter refers to the temperature of the air mass. P stands for cold polar air. A stands for cold Arctic air. And T stands for warm tropical air. Here you see the different combinations of letters that characterize air masses that can affect us in the United States. CP and CA air masses originate over the ice and snow-covered regions of northern Canada and Alaska. These air masses are both cold and dry, with CA being even colder than CP. In winter, the air is chilled near the ground, which causes inversion and low humidity. CP and CA air masses carry cold, dry weather southward into the United States. They are typically associated with cold waves, polar outbreaks, and a phenomenon that is called the Siberian Express, which causes crop damage even in southern Florida. CP and CA air masses are generally dry and therefore produce little precipitation. In summer, CP air masses are only moderately cool and often end heat waves in the northern United States. An exception occurs when they are traversing the Great Lakes in winter. Heating and evaporation from the relatively warm water surfaces leads to unstable and moist air reaching the leeward shores. This goes along with the lake effect snows on the eastern leeward shores of the Great Lakes. Lake effect snow is often associated with tremendous amounts of snowfall in a relatively short time. This animation of radar images shows how the snow develops over the lake. This movie clip was taken in Buffalo, New York in November 2014. You can see the strong convection over the lake. Maritime polar air masses form over oceans of high latitudes, the North Pacific and Northwestern Atlantic. They are humid and cool or cold. However, they are mild in comparison to the continental polar or continental Arctic air masses. Pacific MP air masses usually begin as CP in Siberia, where they are cold, dry, and stable. They move eastward over relatively warm water, where evaporation and heating cause them to be unstable and humid. Orographic uplift of MP air masses at the windward slopes in the west coast region causes heavy rain or snow. East of the Rocky Mountains, the air mass has lost most of its moisture and often causes the Chinook. MP air masses from the North Atlantic affect the weather in the eastern United States only occasionally. They are usually colder than Pacific MP air masses. In summer, air is warmed over land, which leads to the dissipation of clouds and pleasant weather. Maritime tropical air masses originate over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and the tropical or subtropical eastern Pacific. They are characterized by high dew points. Empty air masses from the tropical eastern Pacific often cause heavy precipitation and floods along the west coast. They sometimes get the nickname Pineapple Express. Empty air masses from the Gulf of Mexico or the Caribbean Sea are warm or hot, humid, and often unstable. They are the main source of precipitation for the eastern two-thirds of the United States. Continental tropical air masses have a relatively small source region, which is the northern interior Mexico and the arid southwestern United States. They are characterized by hot temperatures, extremely low humidity, and therefore an almost complete lack of rainfall. They are usually confined to their source region. However, sometimes they can extend to the Great Plains, where they are responsible for droughts.